Hi, this is Elaine Benfield, and welcome to another episode of Herstories. I am so happy today to have Christie Garton joining me today on Herstories. Welcome, Christie.
Hi, and thank you for having me.
I'm so excited. I've heard so much about you for quite some time. We haven't had a chance to talk before. And I'm going to tell you why I find you inspiring and why all my guests will and everyone that listens will hear. So, Christie is inspiring because you turned the idea of empowerment into action. You, through 1000 Dreams Fund, has built a platform not only to lift up young women, but also give them financial resources, mentorship, visibility they need to pursue their passions. You saw this gap, which we all do, that holds women back, especially in gaming, esports, STEM, and you decided to close this and give them an opportunity and help community that doesn't really realize that they have the potential and they don't know how to go about doing it. Your work goes beyond funding. You've created a ripple effect in confidence and courage, and your vision reminds women that even their wildest dreams are valid and their voices matter and their goals are achievable. Your passion and strategy, you've really truly inspired a whole generation of women to dream bigger and to know that they deserve a seat at the table, from classrooms to gaming, from stages to boardrooms. That is a quick summary of when I was writing why you inspire me. It's incredible. So you are such a gift, and I'm just so excited to hear more about you. But, thank you for everything you do. And let's start off with, so Christie, tell everyone who you are and give us a little bit of your background of how you got to where you are today.
Well, Elaine, thank you for that. That is such a kind welcome and unexpected, and just like wow, that makes me feel very
And
very
it's all
happy.
true. It's not like
Well,
I'm saying who you really are. So that's the incredible piece. It's really who you are.
thank you, and I personally just love seeing people succeed. I think at the heart of it, and I think oh gosh, I was just at TwitchCon actually with a few of the women we've funded through our grant program that
Yeah.
specifically supports creators, and hearing their stories, just made me so warm, and then the emotions that came along with that for them. So here I am getting emotional about it, but
As you
I think when
said,
you start talking about dreams, right? Like it's why we exist, and if you don't have a dream for yourself, it can feel like, what's my purpose? So I think, we all have dreams, right? It's just the pathway to getting there is so often unclear, even for those who are privileged enough to have all the resources at hand to take steps towards them. Sometimes just things don't work out. But for so many of the women I've served through 1000 Dreams Fund, and the reason I created it is really recognizing that so many people do not have those resources. So my background, grew up in the Midwest, and I had big dreams back then, wanting to make a difference in some way. Didn't know specifically how I was going to do it. Along my path, there was times where I wanted to pursue something that I felt would help me get one step closer to realizing my purpose. Not all the time I was able to secure resources, and other times I wasn't. And it was those times that I wasn't able to really just made me realize how important it is to have access to money and funding when you are in school. It's not just the education, it's not the degree, it's not showing up and getting an A on the test. It is about those critical relationships you form when you get outside the classroom, or, an extra resource you might need to pursue your dream to the fullest. It might be a camera if you're wanting to be, a photographer or videographer. Just these things cost money. And I think from my experience, I recognized pretty early on how important those things were. My journey has led me to some interesting places, pursued law as my education. I have a JD. I practiced. Ultimately, my heart has always been in serving my community. And so I started that when I was very, very young. And many ways have been inspired by, we all have people in our lives, but for me, my grandmother, who's no longer here, but she was such a big inspiration, seeing her being involved in the community. So I followed her and did a lot of that growing up. And then in college, I actually started my first nonprofit when I was 19. That organization still exists. It's focused on music. That was my passion outside the classroom. But ultimately, my calling is to be doing what I'm doing today, which is running the 1,000 Dreams Fund, growing out of my personal experiences and how important I believe these opportunities are for us all, and wanting to help others to achieve them.
It's interesting. You and I have this similar that I saw by example with my family. My father always gave back and just always tried to help people. Similar with my mom, she loved. I grew up in Pennsylvania, and she always helped inner city kids and just would find ways to help. And it's part of that foundation. Some people don't have that, but you and I saw it. Remembering how can I make a difference? How do I have? I've had privilege in my life, but you see so many people, as you said, that don't and just don't know the direction that they can take. And sometimes it's having someone in their corner helping them realize they
Yes.
can achieve their goals. Because I think that's part of it, as you said, it's so hard. Life's hard, but if you have people that you can emulate and see, and you're a role model for other girls and women to see, like you can, being 19, that is so incredible that you started your own nonprofit. How did you get the courage, and were you ever did you ever have fear you couldn't do it, or did you just were like, "You know what? I know this is what I need to do," and you just did it?
I think it was the latter, to do these kinds of things, I guess. Yeah, I mean, it does take courage. Absolutely. I
Yeah.
recognize that. But I think for me, it's always been I work on recognizing the need that exists. And if
Mhm.
nobody's addressing it, why can't I? And, it's kind of always been that way for myself. And I think, again, having those role models in my life, my grandmother, others, demonstrate that you can go out there and make a difference as one person with an idea, but also the importance of community and
Mhm.
pulling in your friends and network to bring that idea to life. I kind of understood that pretty early on. So when I was 19 and I recognized that there was a need for actually I'm going too much into the story, but I was in the symphony in my University of Kansas, and just recognizing the community, how important private music lessons are to pursuing your musical dreams. So I'm in the symphony. There's a lot of musicians around me. A lot of them, would be potentially interested in volunteering and do. And so that's what
Mhm.
became what was called music mentors. We got musicians and the
Mhm.
symphony, and then it grew to serving students in the community who could not afford private music lessons. And again, it was like I can remember, and this is before Facebook, having my friends' phone numbers down on a piece of paper, calling them. I couldn't even text them at that time to organize this thing, but it was just saw the need, did the outreach, got my friends involved, and went out
Mhm.
there and did it. I mean, you know, absolutely, when you do these kinds of things, you need a plan. Sometimes it's just getting going and you learn along that path. I saw the importance of that too, just taking action if you really,
Well,
want to make a difference.
and you said it, you found, these are great examples in life. You find gaps, you find people that need help, and you address something that you're like, well, wait a second, we've got all this talent. And music is so important, just as, even if you're not going into incredible that you're in a symphony. But to me, my parents always felt no matter what you do, have the arts part of your business career, part of your, because it's a creativity, it's a creative outlet. And so I love that you did that because, it's just it's another great way to help with the community. That's amazing that it's still in existence and everything. That's
Yeah.
incredible.
I think for me, that is what I aspire to when I do these kinds of things. Can I create something that will live beyond myself? That takes work. There's so many organizations that do amazing work. And I
Mhm.
also believe in the importance of partnership too. Like if you have an idea, I encourage people do the research. Who out there's already doing that work? Can you get involved with them? The whole nonprofit space, there's, unique models you can pursue in setting up a new projects, new programs. You don't necessarily have to go out there and build an organization from the
Yeah.
ground up. There's so many ways to make that impact. And, ultimately, sometimes the best way is to partner, and then that allows your idea to take hold and go beyond yourself. And so, yes, in this case, that happened with that group. I was running it by itself. And then, obviously, a lot of colleges have community service organizations. And
Mhm.
pretty early on, I had the thought, like, this program should be a part of their umbrella.
Yeah.
So I pursued that, and that's how it
That's
happened. They
amazing.
took it over and continued it after I graduated. And so as I work on what we're doing with 1000 Dreams Fund, I'm always looking for ways to build partnerships that ensure the sustainability of what we're doing, because nonprofit work is great, but it is hard work. It is not
Yes. And
the
it's a
easiest
community.
thing to do sometimes.
No, and I think it's such a community to me that people really do, I genuinely believe, want to help.
Yeah.
They don't know how. And it's, as you said, it's your friends, your family. Nothing stronger than your community to want to help and shining visibility onto that. Cause I think that
Yes.
that's part of, you can't do it alone, but you shouldn't. And I think that's, you mentioned partnerships are so important. So talk to me about how you came up with, where were you in your stage of life where you're like, you know what, Dream Fund, it needs to happen. Like, talk to me about how you got, you have a great background and a great career, but like, how did you get to that? What made you go, you know what, this is the right organization that I need to create?
Yeah. Uh, Getting to that point, process. I didn't
Mhm.
necessarily have a thought for 1,000 Dreams Fund for many years, and finally got to do it. It really grew out of me pursuing my just interest in, I think, the advancement of women in the workplace. That's long been a huge interest of mine, and skill set. Definitely a communicator. I
Mhm.
love to write, and so when I was in law school, recognized at that time that there was no resource for women in my life stage, education, college, graduate level, and beyond. And so I teamed up with a friend of mine. We started a website for young women, and it became actually a book that was a
Okay.
best-selling guidebook to college for young women, for many editions actually. And this was a side thing for me for so many years. We had this
What year did you publish?
multiple editions starting in 2009. Yeah, it was called The College
Okay.
Girl's Guide to Everything. U Chic was the brand, or like
Oh,
University Chic. And so if you go online,
yeah, yeah.
you can still buy a copy actually of our books online. And it was an interesting model. Kind of definitely has informed what we're doing today, but that's how this came to be, was a
Mhm.
series of these books that we did, uh, giving advice for this life stage. And then, we did one for, we had spinoffs
Oh,
basically.
I can't wait to check them out. That's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
and I know those books are so, they're so helpful, but they're
Yes.
fun. Like, it's like, hey, how do you do this? Because you
Yes.
don't, that's amazing.
Yeah, and we featured advice from real girls at schools across the country. So it was a process getting the advice and
Mhm.
editing and pulling it together, and a book format that was basically, I think, a very popular graduation gift, was why
Yeah.
it did so well. So yes, and for me it was cool to see your book at Barnes and Noble nationwide, at
Yep.
checkout counters, at Bed Bath and Beyond, da, da, da. So that was really just something that I did, I loved doing, but it
Mhm.
wasn't necessarily my full-time focus. I was working along this time, and finally I got to the point in 2015 where we had a fifth edition of that book that came out,
Mhm.
and I was finally in a point in my life where I could do something with this in a bigger
Mhm.
way and focus full time on it. Because being an entrepreneur, which is what this is, I call myself, I'm in social entrepreneurship with what we're doing. It takes resources to be able to spend full-time focus on building a business, essentially. So I was at that point where I had the ability to take some time and focus 100% on this. And that's where I was involved in some things at that time with my alma mater, and they had a fund for young women actually through the Women's Center there for
Mhm.
emergency needs. And so just these ideas started to formulate. And, my goal of doing something bigger with the books became the idea for 1000 Dreams Fund, that, we would be funding dreams, telling their stories, inspiring
Mhm.
girls with every single dream we're supporting. And that's where we started. And here we are, almost 10 years later.
That's incredible. Well, and it is, you always say it's a dream going, everything leads. And I try to say this, life is not linear. I've been saying, like, it goes through, what are all the building blocks? You writing that book, creating on this path where you're hearing from different people and stories. And I mean, that's just amazing. Talk to us about where it is today. And then I want to go into like some of the incredible stories that you have for it.
So yes, where we are,
10
when I
years
first
when?
got almost 10 years next year, 10 years old. When I first got started, the same thing I said earlier about the importance of your network and bringing an idea to life, that is where this whole thing started.
Yeah.
Every nonprofit has a board of directors. And so over the years, I had built my network of inspiring people who I felt could come together and really help this thing take shape. So luckily, I was able to get many of those people involved, and then they knew people. And so before I knew it, I had this fantastic board really working with me to drive the work forward. So that is really how we have built this thing. It is team effort, and the funding focus continues. Really proud. We've granted out over $1.1 million to students, and every one of those stories that we can capture, you can read on our website. So if you go who we funded, you can see all of the students we have supported over the years. And so that continues. After we launch the funding, the recognition that mentors are critical and your
Yeah.
network's critical. We ended up launching a mentoring focus as well as part of our work. So that is the second way we're serving our beneficiaries, is actually connecting them with well-matched mentors. And then the third and final way that we're now serving
Mhm.
students today, as we've grown over the years, is really the dream, the goal, and getting our beneficiary towards their career. What do they
Mhm.
want to do? What is their dream? And that for us has been working with partner organizations, companies, creating literal pathways into employment. So in one case, we're working with Riot Games, that we have a partnership with them to help identify and bring on board two cadets. That's what they're called.
Mhm.
Essentially, it's an apprenticeship program for 3 months, fully paid. Everything's covered, housing for them to go to their production facility, spend every day working with the team, gaining the
Mhm.
skills, so that when they get to the end of that, they're fully prepared to enter esports, whether it's at Riot or elsewhere.
Yeah.
An incredible program, and we run that in partnership with Riot Games and AWS, actually. So those are the three ways that we now
Uh,
serve students over the years.
So how did you get involved in with this? You've got the 1,000 Stream Fund. How did you get involved with the esports and
Yeah.
e-gaming side? Like,
So,
what's that correlation? Because I'm fascinated by it. It's such a huge market, and I say all the time, people don't realize how massive. And I say the line which Todd Harris has taught me. It's, gaming's bigger than music, film, and TV together. And it's like you
yeah.
can't comprehend how massive that is. And I think people aren't tapping into, like, I have a tech background, and I'm like, tech companies aren't realize, well, you could sponsor and you could be part of this and find partnerships. And so, how did you get that correlation together with esports and gaming?
So, the work we do, we believe all dreams matter.
Uh-huh.
We welcome for our core scholarship program that we launched with in 2016. Anybody can apply. It doesn't matter what you want to do. However, there are industries, you mentioned your background in tech, gaming and esports,
Predominantly
music,
men.
so many where women still are underrepresented.
Yeah.
Maybe not at the early kind of part of the career, maybe yes, but we're talking just looking broadly at the industry. Women still are underrepresented in leadership roles
Yeah.
and beyond. So that has opened the door for us to have some unique areas of focus that have come about through partnership. And then all these things that I'm mentioning probably I've hopefully earlier, my belief in partnership, et cetera, like
Mhm.
that's really what is driving all of this. So, through partnership, we've been
Mhm.
able to focus on some very specific areas: tech, gaming, esports, and elsewhere. So the gaming and esports focus for us, number one, women are underrepresented in the industry, at least, when it comes to the professional side of the industry. They are gaming, probably in
Yeah.
a lot of cases, more than 50% are women gamers.
I heard it's up to 15. I'm like, that makes me so happy. But
Yes,
then we need to get into the business side of it. I think
exactly.
that's the next you're bringing into the forefront.
Exactly. And so that started for us through one of our board members. So again, going back to what I said earlier, the importance for us as a nonprofit and having an amazing board back in 28, to actually 2017, I think. We had a board member who was at Twitch. And I'll be honest, in 2017, I wasn't on Twitch.
Yep.
Didn't really engage at all with esports and gaming
Do
at
you
that
consider
time. But
yourself a
he's
gamer?
hmm?
Do you consider yourself a gamer? I
I'm a
feel like everyone games.
enthusiast, but I don't know. I think maybe it just kind of this whole thing we're talking about, at least as it relates to
Yeah,
women. I used to play when I was younger, and then
yeah,
I just kind of stopped and I started watching my brother, and
yeah.
just it changed at some point for me. So that's interesting, kind of how that worked out for me personally. But
Yeah.
yeah, no,
And love
I support and recognize that this industry is one that women need to be in, and that is why
well,
my
and
organization fully supports, these programs that we run for that purpose.
Well, and it's interesting because I always say, like, we're all innately gamers. Like, we probably, when I grew up,
Yeah.
Pong was the first thing. And I remember that, like, my parents were such laggards and they were like, oh, we should get Pong. And I was like, oh my God, I had Pong. Like, no one else had it. And I was so shocked. But now I'm learning that, like, even crossword puzzles is gaming, Words with Friends is gaming. There's so many things, but there's this whole community. And I'm always fascinated with all these different games. There's
Yeah.
so many games, and it's once again community to bring it together. And there's so many jobs. What I love of what you do is bringing this together. There's so many jobs that people can have. Years
Mm.
ago, people were like, "Oh, you're just gaming." It's like, no, there's careers now.
Right.
People can
Or
really
gaming's negative, right? Like,
Mhm.
oh, people get addicted and it's a bad
Screen
thing. And it's
time.
I think it's fully, something. If someone's passionate about it, they should be supported. And in terms of my life journey, and you talk to anybody who's really reached something that they're passionate about, what got them to that point, it's always going back to what made you happy when you were a kid. You
Yeah.
kind of know in some ways, like, what did you really enjoy doing when you were a
Yeah.
kid? And I think about myself, I was creating things with my friends. I was doing like magazines, just randomly creating, drawing, writing, all these things that have become such
Yeah.
important ways in which I do my work today.
Yeah.
So, for anybody that gains young, that could be an indication that that could be an amazing career path worth exploring. So,
No, I definitely it is good, and it's I always talk about we talked about briefly, like, the negativity of it. To me, my kids are gamers, and they found their people,
yes.
and I have one child who would have been in her room all the time, and now she found this community online, and now they're all here in Atlanta. They game every week. They all get like, you can't to me, I'm like, "Oh my god," I don't wanna say saved her, but created this she's a leadership. She
Mm,
does, she leads different games, and she's, like, the administrator, and I'm like, the stuff she's learned, that's what
yeah.
I think parents forget, that is so critical, that
Yes.
there's a lot of life skills that are involved. It's not the times have changed from when I was a kid learning, and I think that that's incredible that you're shining a light on it, you know,
Absolutely. I
with
mean, I've
some
heard so many stories like that. Yeah, I can think of one of our board members currently, and she kind of basically said the same thing. Like, she found her people, like you described, through gaming online. And had
Yeah,
she
yes.
not, and she has an amazing career today in
Yeah,
tech, who knows what would happen? She's just so
yeah,
grateful that that happened for herself.
and it's yeah, I just think it's incredible. Talk to me about, Broadcast Her. So talk about that piece, and I know you mentioned some of the things, but I'd love to talk
Yes.
about because it's really my understanding, it's once again, you're helping create visibility for women in gaming and esports.
Yes.
So talk to me about that.
So that is our name for the initiative focused on gaming and
Yep.
esports for women. And that launched, as I mentioned earlier, through a
Yeah.
partnership we formulated with Twitch back in, I think, 2018
That's
was the first year. And that was our model of funding was the
Mhm.
focus. We were going to fund extra cost for content creators on their platform who are, wanting to up their whatever, if they're
Mhm.
wanting to be professional esports players, if they wanted to be, or in front of the camera, if they wanted to be in roles behind the camera.
Mhm.
That grant program we launched was intended to be a source of support for them. And the funding for that from day one has come through the broadcaster community that has grown
Amazing.
alongside this thing. Over the years, I think, we're over 500
Yes.
funded through that program, over $500,000 or almost actually have been, granted out to
Specifically for
those
that.
folks. Yes,
That's amazing.
close to, I think. And the funding has come from the community. So we partner with content creators and we do live streaming, fundraising, in partnership with them. So it's literally they're, helping us, the community's helping us raise these funds, and our organization manages and administers the grant program for them.
That's
And,
incredible.
we've
It's a
continued that
great it's a
year.
great name too, I like it.
Yes. Well, and so that's, the name, but in addition to that, we have launched other programs under the initiative. So we have a program we run annually now. It's a fellowship, so it's not just funding. It's intended to be a year long of support. So
Mhm.
our team will kind of first of all, we run the application, we help select. Over the years, this has run, I think, since 2019. We'll have 10 fellows, 5 fellows this year. We have 5 fellows that we picked. And this is the program Skill Shot. Todd's company has come on board this year, or last year, actually, for year one as a partner. And that program is, again, it involves our funding, but it's so much more. We really try to orient it around Georgia Games Week. So the 5 fellows get a all expense paid trip to Atlanta to spend the entire basic week on site with Skillshot. And also, DreamHack has been an incredible partner of ours on that program, including HyperX. HyperX has been the longtime supporting partner or title partner for that program. So they're getting this hands on experience. They're building these amazing relationships. We have a mentoring ship component as a part of that program. And then where we can, we're trying to connect them to direct employment opportunities. So that third
That's
piece that I
amazing.
mentioned earlier, the actual hiring part to what we're working towards as an organization for our beneficiaries. So that program, is kind of under the umbrella of what we do. So we have that first grant, we have that program, and then we do other things along the way. The cadetship I mentioned is another program
Mhm.
that we run under that initiative. The sky's the limit. The need will never go away.
Yeah. It's
There will
only gonna
always.
grow. I
Yeah,
mean, just look at the
exactly.
interest I was at Georgia Game Week last year, seeing it exponentially grow and Lioness
Yes.
helping
Yes.
that is amazing. Talk to me about you mentioned Skill Shot, and I think they've done such a great job, helping new talent, helping young and just partnering. Ghost Girls, and they're really helping, and of course for me, I'm so interested in helping women and young girls and, find their way. Talk to me about some of the things you'll be doing at Georgia Game Week next week.
Well, I think, we my role is just to ensure that our fellows get in, they get to where they need to be, they're meeting the people they need to be on site. We also, as an organization, we believe in the importance of celebrating our women. So that's why we feature those stories of everyone that we have funded. We're celebrating their success. So they'll definitely be a big part of that aspect. I think we'll have a big check to present to each of our fellows. They'll get a little time with me actually on a panel during the esports summit where they can talk about their dream and how they're working towards it and the support that they're receiving from Skillshot and others to do that. But for them, it's really about their on-site learning experience. So they'll be shadowing the Skillshot team during these events, the Creator Summit as well, and then when DreamHack opens on Friday through Sunday, they will go over there and then do the same. They'll be the behind the scenes with the team there. We'll have an on-stage moment to celebrate them and celebrate our partnership with DreamHack. So I'm just there to support them and this incredible experience that they're going to have.
Well, and I remember when I went, Todd showed me Skillshot, and I was like, I've never seen anything like it. I mean, it's literally a broadcast studio,
Yes.
and you see all the production, and it's like you can do all the streaming. I was so impressed, and I can only imagine someone that's so into gaming and you're younger going, this is a career. It is so
Yes.
high end, like hottest technology. Just, it is so, if you haven't had a chance, that is something, and that will be obviously accessible next week, to get a sneak preview behind some of the things. And yeah,
And
there's,
meeting the people, and the roles that you could be in, like learning more about the different parts of the business. I think th- that is sometimes I think for people trying to figure out what do they want to do with
yeah,
they love gaming. Well, what do they want to do with that
agreed.
as a career? If you don't know somebody that does it to understand that. So to be able to go behind the scenes, spend time with people doing it, you really walk away with a better understanding of where you might fit.
And
And
all
that's
the breakouts, as you said with the panel, I've offered saying the same. I'm like, "Hey, I'm happy, whatever you need, talking about marketing or PR and how do you help the gaming world?" And it's to hear all these things. For me, start in being in high tech, I just had a professor that was like, "Hey, do you ever think of PR?" And I was like, "What's PR?" And then he said, "What about high tech?" And I'm like, "What's high tech?" And one professor changed the course of my life.
oh, wow, that's amazing.
And I was in my MBA program, so I was like, I already had years of work and like,
Yes.
and already had a career, but I was like, I completely redirected myself, being like, "Oh my God, I had one internship, one professor and one internship, I was sold." I've been in the career for 25 years, and to me, that's why what you do is so important to help and have I'm always available for calls and to talk to people, and I'm sure you feel the same way of how can we connect and help others meet the right people that can help direct them. It's
Yes.
just it's the power of our voice and community.
Yes,
It's so
definitely.
important.
And people, being willing to do that. And it sounds like, you recognize that importance and you're paying it forward. That's a big part of what we try to do as well with our work is to, build instill within this people that we're serving, how do you intend to pay it forward when you are able? We even ask that question sometimes in an application,
Yeah.
because we believe in the power of that,
Yeah.
importance of turning around and helping that next generation, advance. And I mean, 10 years into this almost, I see it happening and it's so inspiring when we have our 2016 scholarship winners, that first class. And one of them comes to me a few years ago working and says, I want to make a difference. How can I get involved with 1000 Dreams Fund? And what happened with her ask is we actually now have a junior board that she's a co-chair for, that her and she
Right.
recruited friend got off the ground. And so, the importance of that, I think for us
Mhm.
all to recognize, when we get support, how much it is needed to turn around and provide that.
Yeah. Well, and it's you and I both feel the same. I created the Herstories platform to help tell careers and resilience and how do you make a difference. And all of us, to me, I feel so good helping and telling stories because it does make a difference and it changes someone's life to hear all the like either a career path, but also how are you resilient? You might have had a hard childhood, but you still can turn it around and there's organizations that can help you. And that to me is such a gift of what you provide because it's, you know, just, life is hard and having people that can help you. I love so much your mission and especially with, STEM and tech and you know, I grew up where you would never do that. You wouldn't. And I
Yes.
remember even getting my MBA. People are like, still at 75% of my people in my MBA class I have an economics undergrad. I've been around men my whole career,
Yes.
but I'm here to say, well, I can do it. Then you can do it. And I'm
Yes.
sure you feel the same that.
Absolutely. The importance of role models. The all the reason we also tell the stories of the people we are serving is that they are in they're inspirational. They have gone out there, they had the courage to apply for one of our programs, they've been selected. Their story can inspire. Peers can inspire one another. You
Yeah.
don't even have to be CEO of a company to inspire somebody to dream bigger. We can all inspire each other. So I totally believe in that. And, the platform you are building, how important that is to just uplifting and, advancing women, I think ultimately is the goal. And
It truly is the goal. And I'm sure every time I love hearing your stories of people that you've helped, then the reflection of everything you've done was such for purpose, which I love. Where do you see yourself kind of going forward? Like if you and I talk in a year from now, 5 years from now, what do you hope that all
absolutely.
this will be?
1000 Dreams Fund continues. We continue our work. We have a goal of, and by 2030 of serving 50,000 students annually through
Mhm.
our work. And that, is going back to the funding, mentoring, hiring across those three pillars that, we're running programs that accomplish that for so many. Yeah, I mean, the need will never go away. I've said that before for what we do. So to ensure the sustainability of what we're doing today, just that growth and We've had amazing partners for many years for these programs. In order to meet that need that I just mentioned, we're going to need a lot more. So, in a year from now, we've got new things going on, new things to talk about. That would be my goal, and
Well,
really
and it's
growing what we're doing.
and I want to tell so I have a resource page on her. I'd love people to find you, but I also want to encourage if you have the means, help support. And if you are in a company, help partner. Just this is, we can all help each other. And I think, as I said earlier, like I want tech companies to step up. They have money, they have resources, and they should be able to partner. To me, I just think it's a no-brainer. Why wouldn't you want to partner to help the next generation? That might work for you.
Well, and in so many industries, they need talented workforce. If we're going to be able to address the potential for our economy and the overall health
Mhm.
of our country, we need everyone fully employed and pursuing or being in roles where they deserve and can effectively be. And that is ensuring that those who are in school today are getting the resources they need to be prepared for that future. So it is, it's a win-win for everybody,
It's a
for
win-win.
companies to be investing in their future workforce and ensuring that they have the people that they're going to need down the line to run these incredible businesses they are running today. It's just it's critical.
It's critical, and I also feel like this is, STEAM and STEM are so critical, and I know we can talk about, like, AI and the fear. This stuff isn't going away. We're always gonna have a need for people that are learning technology and the advancement. You're helping to bridge that, and I feel that it's just so important companies to realize that let's invest in these new technologies and it's so important to grow, grow the
Exactly.
new generation that their jobs, we don't know what they're going to do in 5 years, which I love. There is an unknown, which I know scares my kids going, what's my job? We don't know yet, but
No.
that's okay.
Well, it's
You're getting the
fascinating.
skills. It's fascinating.
Yeah. And I think some companies recognize this. There was we actually had an event recently. We brought together some senior leaders. Actually, Todd was a part of that conversation
Yeah,
in
he's so good.
Atlanta. And this other gentleman on our panel was talking about his company actually specifically for AI. They've created a program where they're having their younger employees train the established professionals in their organization on AI. So, there is so much to be gained from welcoming that young generation into your workforce, but also recognizing they have things that they contribute right away alongside being prepared for these roles. So, for
I love
companies that
that.
understand that and unlock that potential as their early careers are developing, it's fascinating. And I think again, some companies really get that. And these examples are I think ones we should all listen to and can learn from.
Yeah, and in bridging, I love hearing kind of the older talent that's in existence, but with the younger that are coming in being like, and they, no offense for me, but they really do pick up very quickly, where it takes me a little bit longer. I just love that, you know, it can help so many bridge between the different generations
It's a
too.
bridge. It
It
goes both ways. And
goes
that's where
both
for
ways.
us, the mentoring part is so important. So yes, for anybody that's listening to this today, and if you're, inspired at all by what we do, that is a great next step. We have students who have signed up to be matched with professionals,
Mhm.
and we base it around career goals and interests. So we use AI actually to match students with professionals. So Elaine, if you signed up,
I'm signing up.
and we'd be matching you with a student who
I
aspires
love it.
to similar work, and you could, mentor them. And we don't, for this particular program, we don't require anything more than 60 minutes of your time, 1 hour
I love it.
for a high impact session because, we're mashing around those interests and career
Yeah,
goals.
I love it.
So,
I'm happy to join.
absolutely. Thank you.
Love it. Love it. Happy to join. And I have a lot of friends that are always, some programs are so formal. And
Yes.
I do that as well, for universities and whatnot. But I'm always like, why couldn't I get on a call for an hour and then keep in touch and just check on, these, young up and coming talent. So I'll encourage my friends who always want to talk to the next generation. And so I'll work behind the scenes to help
Thank you.
do some
Appreciate it.
matching on that. So I want to be conscious of your time. I'm so grateful to talk to you. And I have one last question that's a two-parter. that I ask all my guests, and I'd love to know what inspires you and what empowers you.
And let's see, what inspires me? Actually, our students that we serve. I think, we get so many applications to our programs, and if only we had more support, we could support more of them. So that is what really motivates me every day with this work is to continue growing so we can continue supporting more dreams. And I'm sorry, second part of your question.
What empowers you?
My friends and family. I definitely believe when, the weekend comes or the workday's done, even with my team, turn it off, go out there and have things that inspire you outside of your work and the importance of, being involved in your community and investing in those amazing relationships that happen in your community. Just enjoying life, So I definitely
That's great.
try to enjoy my non-work hours. I just Halloween's around the corner and I do love a haunted house, so I will
I
be doing that this weekend. I'm really excited about it. I get to be a kid again.
It's Atlanta's finally has really beautiful fall weather. I'm like,
Mhm.
it's the perfect with the leaves, and we get
Yes.
a very I'm just this is I love this time of year, especially with Halloween too.
Yes.
So is there anything I know I said that was the last question, but is there anything I didn't ask that you'd love to highlight or anything that you want to summarize? Because there's so much that you do. You inspire me, you impress me. I'm just so happy you're in my world. We'll find ways that we can partner together. Is there
Appreciate that.
anything else you want to tell, my audience listening of how they can
I just, appreciate this so much, Elaine. Thank you so much. Again, just what I said, if anybody's inspired at all about what we do, there are ways to be involved, easy ways to be involved. Hopefully you feel because, we could definitely use as much support as we can get to grow and serve so many of these young people with really inspiring journeys. Oh my gosh, the applications we read. Again, that's what motivates me. So no other questions, but just wanting to encourage anybody who wants to give back. We've got students who could really benefit from your support.
Wonderful. And I will make sure, as I said, my resource page, everyone listening, I will make sure that we can find, Christy, but also the organization and everything. And, you know, get out there, make a difference, help others. It will only, first of all, it makes you feel great, but it's also, you can change someone's life and, make a difference and be a mentor. So I have a great audience. So I hope everyone listens and does that. And it was such a pleasure. I can't wait to meet you next week. I
Same.
fangirl in the audience, but you'll see me a few times.
Oh,
But thank you so much for your time. Thank you for everything you do. It truly was a pleasure.
thank you, Elaine. I appreciate it. And I can't wait to meet you as well.
Thank you. Thank you. And everyone, thanks so much for listening and stay tuned for another episode of Her